Okay, so part 3 of the task 1 paragraph is the conclusion. And the conclusion here is not your opinion, but it's something that we learn from the table or from the bar graph or pie graph. And usually there's something in the question which will help you with this. So remember here, do not give your own opinion. Instead, the conclusion of the task 1 paragraph is the purpose for the table in this case, or a bar graph or a chart and so on. So what is the reason for the table, graph, and so on? Now, the conclusion should only be about 1 to 2 sentences. Keep it simple. Simple, simple, simple. That's the most important here. So 1 to 2 sentences about, let's say, 20 to 30 words. And the conclusion can be, for example, a prediction. Often with line graphs it's a prediction, or it can be, for example, an assumption or inference. Inference is a very good word to know when you're writing for graphs and charts. It's an educated guess or an educated assumption. With the table that we're working with, we'll look at our example. You want to pay attention to the question. In the question it tells you that this table is showing the sales made at a coffee shop which is close to a large high school. Let's have a look at our example now. We'll write the 2 sentences for the conclusion of this table, and you'll see just exactly how this works. So, in Western society, summer break is usually in the months of July and August, and the semester finishes near the end of June. And remember, in the Analyze section, when we added together the rows and columns, we saw that the higher sales were between the months of April to June, and the highest sales were during lunchtime. Now, there's a good chance the reason for the high sales during this time is because most school students spend their lunch money during lunch, and the coffee shop is probably not making as much money during the summer break because all the students are gone on vacation. So here's our example continued. So here we go, first sentence. By looking at the data, it is likely, and it's good to use words like probably or likely, it is likely that the high sales during lunch are a result of students spending their lunch money at this coffee shop. And then we'll finish it with one last sentence about the summer months. So also, sales in July and August are probably because students are gone for summer vacation. Okay, and that's the end of the paragraph. So now have a look at the entire paragraph put together with the first part describe, the main second part analyze, and finally the conclusion that we just wrote here. Now, if you have a few minutes when you're finished task 1, it's always a very, very, very good idea to check your work. Most good essays, most good paragraphs are corrected by the writer. It doesn't matter if it's a student or a professional, it's always a good idea to check your work. So, check your work. Check paragraph for mistakes. There are different kinds of mistakes that can happen. The most important mistake that you want to check for is what's called coherence errors, basically information mistakes. It doesn't matter if a student is an international student or native speaking student, information mistakes are the biggest mistakes. So coherence or information mistakes. Simply this means that any kind of mistake where it's difficult to understand what the sentence is saying or what the sentence is trying to connect, these are coherence mistakes. They can really hurt your grade, so you definitely want to make sure that you don't have any of these. So look for confusing and incorrect information. This can include things like language use errors and other types of grammar mistakes that change the meanings of sentences or ideas. The second type of mistake are, of course, spelling mistakes. So if you can, look for spelling mistakes. It's not the most important. Worry about number 1 most. And then, of course, third are grammar mistakes. Grammar mistakes can include, for example, things like tenses. So you want to make sure that you're using the past tense when you should use the past tense, using the present tense when you should be using the present tense. Okay, let's look at our paragraph and see if we can find some mistakes. There are probably some. It's very difficult to write a perfect paragraph right away. So let's have a look and see if we can find some of these mistakes and then get our final paragraph that will get us a nice high mark for the IELTS.